Hello everyone. I am a professor in Choi of the Department of Real Estate Namseol University who will present this research. The title of this study our present is on analysis of the balanced relationship between production and exchange rate by year and period using a wavelet model. My presentation order is first, purpose of rising questions and research. Second, current status of manufacturing businesses and workers. Third, pre-research and wavelet model setup. First, analysis of Granger-causal relationship. Fifth, analysis of production and exchange rate relationships using wavelet models. Finally, conclusion. Now, I will present my story. The purpose of rising question and research. Looking at Lucas' 1982 theory of exchange rate equilibrium, which presented a model for the balanced relationship, it suggests that the exchange rate has a balanced relationship with the amount of money and industrialization. Then, it is necessary to examine whether the nation's manufacturing industry are following Lucas' 1982 theory of exchange rate equilibrium. This study examines whether there exists a balanced relationship between production and foreign exchange rate around 2000 after the 1997 financial crisis, including 2008 when the economic crisis existed. In order to achieve the purpose of the research, the following research topics were established and verified. The balance between production and exchange rate is analyzed by year-end cycle using a SOPA model. Perform an annual and periodic analysis that was not seen in impact response function. That is, how the relationship between production and foreign exchange rate appears over time, and how the relationship between the economy and the exchange rate is viewed using one of the characteristics of the changes in the economy. The moment. Economic fluctuations refer to the repetition of the rise and fall of economic activities, and this study analyzed them around the small cycle of 2 to 4 years. Our present to current status of manufacturing businesses and workers from 2007 to 2017. As of 2017, 61,785 businesses were manufacturing in Korea, of which 15.85% were other machinery and equipment manufacturers. C29 accounted for the largest portion, followed by 15.46% for metal processing product C25 and 10.21% for rubber and plastic products C22. Look at the table 1. Table 1 is number of businesses and workers by manufacturing industry from 2007 to 2017. Finally, the industry with the greatest decrease in the number of workers was reduced to 32.67% by manufacturing clothing accessories, and for products C14 followed by 14.91% by manufacturing wood and wood products C16 and 13.51% by manufacturing textile products C13. Our present the three free research and Wavelet model setup. I would like to look at prior studies on exchange rate and production, which are the central variable of this study. There are many studies on ripple effect of exchange rate fluctuations. Based on these prior studies, empirical analysis is conducted around the component price paths in the story. In other words, we would like to look at the inverse relationship between rising component cost, decreasing component inputs, decreasing total supply, and decreasing production due to the increase in exchange rate. I will introduce a free study on Wavelet model. Wavelet analysis is a method that has expanded rapidly since it was first introduced in the field of mathematics in the mid-1980s by Road et al. 1984 and Grossman et al. 1984, and is used very frequently in fields such as physics, mechanics, and signal processing today. In particular, recent research focuses on study of economic coordination among countries and the study of coordination among economic variables within countries. There are many researchers for free study on Wavelet models. Now I introduce for the Wavelet model. Wavelet analysis began in earnest in the early 1980s and has recently expanded its applications to social science, including the analysis of economic time series and financial indicators. Wavelet refers to a small wave itself limited to a specific time, allowing simultaneous use of information about the vibrating water area as well as the time domain of time series. Unlike transformations, Wavelet analysis allows data to be decomposed over time periods, allowing studies of variance, correlation, etc. between variables in a way that allows long-term trend and short-term fluctuations to be identified simultaneously and efficiently. This is fundamental theory. Look at the equation 14, equation 15, and so Fundamental theory contains a variety of mathematical equations, so I just took a picture of it in my paper and attached it here. This is a Wavelet correlation coefficient. Similar to Fourier analysis, Wavelet analysis uses a power spectrum to assess how the periodic component account for the movement of the time series at a point in time. The formula for the Wavelet's power spectrum is as shown below. Equation 16, equation 17, equation 18, equation 19 is like this. We would like to examine whether there is a reverse relationship between exchange rate and production through the component price route of the exchange rate rifle. A number of studies, including Choi 1993, Koshman 1988, and Connelland-Roderick 1986, 강삼모, Lee Chang-soo 2005, Choi Bong-ho and Lee Jae-dok 2006, claim that changes in exchange rate adversely affect corporate earnings. This study looks at the long-term balanced relationship and the correlation from the long-term and short-term perspectives of the impact response function used in the past, which is different from the existing research and is believed to have academic significance. Look at the table 2. Table 2 is the result of Granger's causal relationship. Table 2 is the result of verification of Granger related between the exchange rate and the production index of each manufacturing sectors. First of all, it was analyzed the food manufacturing C10, beverage manufacturing G11, printing and record media clothing C18, medical material and medicines manufacturing C21, medical precision optical equipment and watch manufacturing C27, and other product manufacturing C37 had no causal relationship with each other. Changes in the production index of the manufacturer of chemicals and chemicals C20 were analyzed to affect the change rate. Look at the figure 1. Figure 1 is Wavelet decomposition of exchange rate. To find out the relationship between production and the exchange rate using the Wavelet model, the Wavelet decomposition was performed on the time series data, the change rate and the production index of each manufacturing type. First of all, the exchange rate time series data from January 2000 to December 2018 were decomposed into 6 stages as shown in the following pictures. This is Wavelet coherent analysis result. Look at the figure 2. Figure 2 is Wavelet constancy analysis of exchange rate and primary metal manufacturing production index. Economically, the long-term and short-term division are gradually divided based on the time when fixed cost become zero, but in this study, the long-term and short-term were divided by referring to the previous prior research due to difficulty in analyzing fixed cost. Look at the figure 3. Figure 3 is the result of Wavelet constancy analysis of exchange rate and electronic component. We look at the manufacturing of electronic components, computers, images, sound, and communication equipment C26. As a result of analysis of the airworthiness of the exchange rate and the production index, it was analyzed that long-term equilibrium exists basically. Look at the figure 4. Look at the figure 4. Figure 4 is Wavelet constancy analysis of exchange rate and manufacturing index for automobile and trailers. The long-term balance of automobile manufacturing C3 has been gradually disappearing due to external factors. But in general, automobile manufacturing has been found to following the long-term balance in past. Look at the figure 5. Figure 5 is Wavelet constancy analysis of exchange rate and food manufacturing production index. Granger looks at the food manufacturing C10 of the industries that do not exist. Look at the figure 6, analysis of Wavelet constancy of exchange rate and beverage manufacturing production index. Granger looked at the beverage manufacturing C11 among industries that do not have a causal relationship. The analysis of airworthiness of exchange rate and the production index of beverage manufacturing C11 showed that basically there was no long-term equilibrium. I will present the conclusion. The purpose of this study is to reveal how the equilibrium relationship between the production and the exchange rate of the manufacturing industry, Korea's main industry, exists on the annual and periodic basis. This relationship is based on the shock response function and the Wavelet model, and the results are as follows. First, the exchange rate and production differed by industry on whether long-term balanced relationship exists or not. The primary metal manufacturing industry C24 and the electronic part manufacturing C26 were analyzed to have long-term equilibrium relationship between exchange rate and production. And automobile manufacturing C30 was found to exist in part. Food and beverage manufacturing C10 and beverage manufacturing C11 were analyzed to have no long-term equilibrium between exchange rate and production. The reason for this difference in existence can be identified as related to the structure of the industry. Food and beverage manufacturing supported Lee Chang-yul's claim that Light industry has a weak response to most shocks due to light industry, and especially in beverage manufacturing production. The important share was relatively low, which is not significantly related to the microeconomic variable foreign exchange rate. In general, the short-term balance adjustment process appeared mainly, and it was analyzed that the short-term adjustment was made due to the change in the exchange rate, not the change in production facilities, but the change in price through the adjustment of production. Other primary metals manufacturing C24 and electronic component manufacturing C26 were found to control the balance of production and exchange rate through adjustment of production facilities. The long-term balance of automobile manufacturing C30 has been gradually disappearing due to external factors. But in general, automobile manufacturing has been found to follow the long-term balance in the past. That's all. Thank you for my presentation.